Well, first of all, honored to see you guys today.
Thank you very much, man. Thanks for coming.
Congrats on the film. Joe did a phenomenal job. Wannabe cinematography was incredible.
Yeah.
Clinton's score was remarkable. You both have been scored by some of the greatest composers in the history of cinema. John Williams, Hans Zimmer.
He's got a bunch of the big composers in his.
Danny Elfman on Good Will Hunting.
Sure.
But what is your relationship as actors to film score? In the sense of, generally speaking, the score gets added in. I know with like Ludwig and Nolan, he'll be writing it during kind of the process of it. But your relationship emotionally to the scores you're set to, and do you have favorite scores like John Williams?
The thing about this movie was that
We've just been talking about
this.
this.
Joe played. Like, he actually sets a tone using the score. As the only director I've ever worked with where and now obviously that's the finished score for the movie, but he plays, you know, what you would have, which would be like temp music, which is the score from other movies that's sort of similar to the tone he's trying to establish. And it's actually very helpful because it's a real shorthand to communicate, like, this is the vibe of this scene. This is the energy that's here. And it's good to sort of tune into that wavelength and sort of, you can't play the score, but you understand sort of the space that he wants you to be in. And, it's a pretty helpful, useful thing. And for me as a director, I find that like the score is really the one element that you've got your movie, and with the right score, it just enriches the whole thing.
Yeah, I saw a 70 millimeter of Lawrence of Arabia, and it was one of.
I watched it recently.
Did you go to the Sony lot?
Yes.
Is this the Tom Roth?
It's the same print.
Dude, Tom Rothman set the screening up for my wife and my family.
Really?
Because
so he's got that print.
Yes.
So Tom Holland, when we were shooting the Odyssey, arranged, because Tom Holland runs that studio, he's Spider-Man, and so he called Tom and Rothman and on a Sunday we went down and screened it.
I wanted to be. I had to work, but that's amazing.
And
it was. I mean,
13 reels.
Yes.
And he was switching between two 70 mil projectors.
Yeah.
I was randomly on a carpet once with Tom Rothman for this movie Napoleon, and we were talking about film projection. And I was like, I always wanted to see Lawrence of Arabia. He goes, give me a call, I'll screen it for you.
That's awesome.
I literally called Sony, and I'm not kidding, I was in that theater like a week later with my wife.
That felt like it was such a treat. I went and brought a few friends, and we had a few cast members, and it was just like a really special day.
And then the music, like the overture.
Overture.
Right.
Yeah.
2
minutes of black. And then full overture, and
I've never seen anything like it, and just the images come to life. Do you have favorite scores of yours that you've been set to over? Like John Williams.
Well, Interstellar. I mean, obviously that one is so iconic. The Interstellar.
Chris uses music.
It says,
it's like, what is that?
It says "stay" in Morse code.
Are you
Interstellar? Yeah.
I met somebody yesterday who had a "stay" tattoo, but just had it written "stay."
That's my friend Rachel.
Yes.
She's a journalist. That's
wild.
Yeah.
That score is remarkable.
It is remarkable.
It is. So animals to me are such an interesting thing in filmmaking because I think animals reveal so much about who a person is, depending on how someone treats an animal. And Wilbur the dog is obviously something that we as an audience, as we're in these intense action scenes, I kept thinking, is the dog okay?
Right.
You even say, vest up the dog at one point.
Right.
There's something interesting about how, and it's weird, and when I watch films, it's harder to watch an animal get hurt sometimes than it is to watch a human. And I'm wondering if you can speak to this idea.
I think that's totally common. I don't know what it is about people, but we're much more tolerant. There's a real conviction that you can't kill a dog in a movie, or just no one will see the movie. And there's animal spoilers that go up. And movies have violence and drama and all this stuff. All kinds of terrible things happens. The nature of drama. But the thing we seem to not be able to tolerate is like the violence towards animals. I kind of speaks well for us in a way, maybe poorly in others. Care about other species more than
In fact, my friend was there last night with his kids and at the premiere, and told me after that literally his daughter turned to him and said, "I can't take it if they kill the dog."
Yeah.
And my friend, the dog came to the premiere. The dog and dog.
I
came
saw
to the
it.
Wilbur the dog was
With the
there
vest
with the vest on.
That dog ever was.
Yeah, exactly. and my friend said to his daughter, he goes, "Well, you saw the dog. You saw the dog outside. The dog's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever happens in the movie, the dog's fine."
Yeah. I think it's also why when we watch John Wick, you understand why he's doing what he's doing because they killed his dog at the beginning of the
By the way, I
film.
heard that conviction, and everyone was like, it's about the guy that killed his dog. Movie's like a gigantic series. Turns out, you got to do more dog killing vengeance movies.
You have an amazing monologue early in the film when you're in the bathroom about time.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I've actually asked Christopher Nolan this question in interviews before about the relationship people have with time as we get older. And you speak in the movie about the time that's passed and the time we have left. I'm turning 42 in March, and I'm like, okay, I'm pretty much at almost halfway through my life. And it's kind of a weird, beautiful, but devastating thing to think about.
Yeah.
Can you speak about your relationship to time over the years, especially having kids, I would imagine too, but like time has to be interesting as you get older. What is your relationship with time?
It's actually, that monologue kind of mirrors what we said to each other when we started Artist Equity. You know, it's like we really got into our 50s and went, okay, well, this is the most precious commodity, obviously, and we're in the second half. Like, what are we gonna do? You know, like what really do we want to do? So much of your younger years are, especially in a business as insecure and competitive as this one, are spent trying to just, keep your career going. And now it's like, now we're at a point where it's like, well, what do we want to do?
Yeah.
How do we want to spend this time? Like, it's not anybody else's time. It's not anybody else's.
It feels
life.
like you have all the time in the world and you're young. I mean, it's kind of a function of being young. You have to feel that way to go out and take risks and strike out on your own. And but it does become, I think it's that age and it's children, right? Like, because your children start to get older and you realize, oh, their childhood's not going to come back, or them living at home is not going to come back. It gives you this very desperate sense of like treasuring the time that you have left.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I was watching the film last night and the cinematography is remarkable. The way shadows are used. Also, the way your character's introduced initially in the shadows, and you're introduced by the cigarette in the hand. Those are all interesting details about character. We learn a lot about them. It's like strangers on a train when you meet them by the shoes for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, you know who those guys are immediately when you see them walking. But the cinematographers that you've worked with in your career are remarkable. Kaminsky, Larry Fong. I mean, there's so many amazing DPs. And I wanted to talk to you about your relationship to your DP and the relationship that you have to your frame and the composition. Because like I was rewatching Good Will Hunting last night and there's that shot in the bathroom when you're writing the theorem, and it rack focuses from your face to the actual thing you're writing. And it's a character arc in that moment. He's figuring it out in that moment. Can you speak about your relationship to frame? I know you're a filmmaker and a director as well.
That's everything. The director and cinematographer, that is everything. That is literally everything. And
I mean, Hoytema with that IMAX camera on.
Hoyte literally, you know, I had an incredible experience with Hoyte. He's handheld. You know, he is the one looking through. And he, you know, the old... You know, Chris doesn't have playback on his set, you know, and it's the way movies were always made, right? And the director is as close as they can be to the camera. And when the director sees it with his naked eye, you know, he's set the frame with his cinematographer. He knows what's happening and he's as close as can be, but he turns and checks in. And if you get the nod, you know what I mean? That person is the one watching the movie. And it's a very, very intimate relationship. Really, and you know, Hoyte, you just mentioned,
Kaminsky,
Johnny Vescovier, who did Good Will Hunting, you know, really, and Juan Mi, who did this movie.
Juan Mi, we didn't know, and
we'd never worked
came
with
in,
him,
and I thought did a really good job, principally because he wasn't afraid to let things go dark. Like, there's a version to that. It's also considered sort of anti-commercial or something, you know, people want things to be like really bright and present and such. And I thought because it was a movie about kind of what was known and what was unknown, it really worked. And I thought he did an exquisite job and deserves a lot of credit in this movie.
Yeah, the lighting's amazing. Even that shot when you're talking to Desi, you go in and out of the light.
Yeah,
it's so cool because like, oh, we don't know what this guy's intentions are. And it's interesting also, we mentioned Hoyte, like on Interstellar, those cameras were lawnmowers sounding at that time. And I know that Chris has done something new now with the blimp and kind of like being able to, you could actually do dialogue now on those IMAX cameras.
They invented this system for this movie. So the Odyssey is 100% IMAX, you know, which is really exciting. And by the way, it was our intention that when we embarked to do it 100% IMAX, but we didn't know. You know, it was like, how challenging is this gonna be? And they pulled it off. I mean, it was really, and this system, this blimp that they built around the IMAX is, I mean, I think when the whole package is together, it's over 300 pounds. So they had to get new steel bracing on the dolly. They had to invent all these kind of things to be able to do this. And then just carrying that thing, the grip department. You know what I mean? It was incredibly ambitious and really required every single ounce of energy that everybody had and the feeling of accomplishment every day when you go, oh my God, we made the day. It was really, really profoundly wonderful.
Yeah, and shout out to Serge Naffa, who's the focus puller, right?
Yeah.
One of the
He's
greatest.
One of them. And then Keith is on a camera.
Oh.
It's just and they say his kind of buzz rate is like a magnitude of order better than anybody else on planet Earth. I mean, these guys are so talented.
Yeah, and Serge focus
By the way,
pull.
if you don't have a monitor and you have film, which is a lot slower than digital, and now most first ACs, it's you're on a remote device, and it also will give you Z-Bring, so you can double check. It's hard because back to the old days when it was just the operator who had to tell you if it was sharp or not.
100%
hard to see.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a whole.
And by the way,
other
we're on a ship that's pitching, and Hoyt is. I mean, it's just it was really a remarkable kind of technical achievement what those guys were able to do.
Yeah, and Serge focus pulled on the River of Hills in one battle after another too, which I don't know how the hell he even did that.
That was
unreal, unreal.
Yeah.
Couple quick rapid fires for you guys. The movie you've seen the most in your life. What is the movie you think you've seen the most times?
Maybe Midnight Run.
Yeah, or this.
Why Midnight Run?
We just loved it from the time we saw it in the theater
over.
multiple times, and then it kind of became a running thing where we would quote lines. And people are, particularly our generation. I remember Edward Norton working with him and on Rounders and discovering that it was one of his favorite movies. And we would just throw lines back at each other. And I have friends from college who I still, if I talk to them, the first line that comes out from one of us will be
I call Paul Thomas Anderson any line from that movie, and I'll instantly say the responding line.
We screened a print of it at Paul Thomas Anderson's house, and I think I was obnoxious because I kept screaming out. I was so excited. I was just shouting out lines the whole time.
Oh my gosh. I would kill to go to his house and watch a film. That'd be amazing.
Well, we got in because Ben had a print of it because Ben worked with Marty Brest. And as a gift at the end of his rap gift was this pristine print of Midnight Run.
I had done an SNL thing with Paul. He had directed some of this SNL stuff because he was with Fiona Apple at the time. And she was hosting. I got to know him. And Gwyneth had done Hard Eight with Paul. And then when Paul came and visited, the cinematographer for Gigli actually and for The Town, was he shot There Will Be Blood and Hard Eight.
Bob Elswit?
Yeah.
I forgot he shot The Town.
Yeah. So we had all the, and Paul came and visited The Town. So I got to know him, and then that just became our way of communicating. I found out you could say everything you possibly need to say by using lines from Midnight Run.
Wow. Last thing, movie you wish you could rewatch again for the first time. I have no memory of it.
Well, that's a great question.
Shawshank.
Ooh.
Oh, that's good.
That's a good one.
That's really good.
I get The Matrix a lot on this question.
That's a very good answer.
I might do The Matrix just because actually I feel like
it would be a very, very strong impression on that.
By the way, no, but when that movie came out in 1999, people were like, oh, it's a revolutionary action movie and all this stuff and the way they're doing this new camera technique. We both voted for it for Best Picture for the Oscar. And I remember people kind of scoffing, like The Matrix. And then I remember talking to Kenny Lonergan a few years later, and he had voted for it for Best Picture.
Yeah, because actually what it was it foresaw a whole notion of the future and of existence.
Exactly. Yeah. And it has become more relevant with each passing year. That movie gets better.
It's one of the
and
most
better
seminal films ever made, without doubt.